It's been an important topic for the New York Jets. Who will be wide receiver two? The Jets are reportedly going to make a quote-unquote significant addition at the wide receiver position, according to Rich Cimini, whether that's trade, draft, or free agency. But we've been looking at the obvious names. It's time to look at the not-so-obvious names. A insider nugget from Brian Costello with a Jake Asman conversation says the Jets could add a mystery receiver to the squad. We investigate. Let's roll. Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field Gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor Gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas. Hey, what's poppin', everybody? Paul Esden Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green of the New York Jets, digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show live every single day at 7:30. Also available wherever you get your podcast. Feel free to just search up Boy Green Daily. Make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe down on YouTube. We're also streaming live on the Twitter and Facebook. Let's get right to the footage. Jake Asman, our good old buddy, he actually joined us earlier this week. He had Brian Costello of the New York Post on, and there was an interesting exchange. I want to highlight this clip. Again, this is from the Jake Asman show, and then we'll investigate. Jake and Brian Costello discussing here. Let's roll the footage, everybody, in case you missed it.
Is there a trade they could make? Like, can Douglas go full McCagnon and find his Brandon Marshall for, maybe not a fifth-round pick, but is there a deal that we're not thinking of at that spot?
Maybe, but like the hard part with that, Jake, is because we're not thinking of it, right? Like, nobody knew Brandon Marshall was available until all of a sudden that day. No one knew Tyreek Hill was available until that day. Like, it's those things come out of nowhere. Like, you don't see those coming. So yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, like, wide receiver is a position where trades happen. We can pull out a bunch of examples where teams traded, Stephon Diggs got traded. Like, wide receivers tend to be a pain in the ass. and they'll, so somebody might go on social media and pop off on social media on March 9th, and maybe the Jets can pounce on March 10th to get them, So yeah, that's definitely a possibility because that position is volatile.
Position is volatile. You hear it from Brian Costello. So you're saying there's a chance? And I've been cracking down all night trying to figure it out. Who could that wide receiver be? And I came up with a list. Also, throughout this show, for all you people that are live joining us, feel free to jump into the comment section and try to guess the mystery receiver that could suddenly become available, seemingly out of nowhere, and the Jets could pounce on him. Now, before we get to my list, which has all these names on it for a variety of reasons of why they could become available, I just want to go down memory lane. Some of you Jet fans will remember some of these key additions the New York Jets made by going to the veteran wide receiver trade market. What about Braylon Edwards? Okay, old Braylon Edwards got traded to the Jets in 2009. The Jets had to give up a third and a fifth-round draft choice. They were able to bring in Braylon Edwards, who brought some juice, obviously, to the New York Jets roster. That was ahead of the trade deadline. That was a mid-season addition. But October of 2009. What about Santonio Holmes? That was an offseason one that happened around the draft. That was April of 2010. The Jets traded for Santonio Holmes for a fifth-round draft choice. That was a April discussion. Then you go back to the Jets Brandon Marshall trade. That was exactly the one that Brian Costello was referencing, where suddenly out of nowhere a guy becomes available. Jets trade for him in March of 2015. All they had to give up for Brandon Marshall was a fifth-round draft choice. And not only is there a history of the Jets making the move, that's one part of the equation. But if the Jets made this move in the past and it's always failed, then you may take a step back and say, maybe that's not the right move for the Jets. But if you really think about it, Brandon Marshall had the greatest single season in Jets franchise history. 109 catches, 1,502 receiving yards, 14 touchdowns. He reset the record books for what ended up being a fifth-round draft choice. Santonio Holmes, Now, I know it didn't end great with Tone Time, but think about all the overtime winners I've got in that closet over there. I need to kind of put it in a more prominent position just because I don't want it to get broken or anything. One of my prized New York Jets memorabilia collections is an autographed Santonio Holmes jersey. I was walking around Jets Cortland training camp, and I ran into Santonio when we were both like leaving. And I'm like, Santonio Holmes. And I ripped it. I was wearing his jersey. I ripped the jersey off my back. He signed it. We got to talk for a long time. Really cool guy. So, Santonio Holmes. There was a lot of highlights there. And Braylon Edwards, obviously. Come on, people. The 2009 season AFC Championship game. Mark Sanchez pump fakes Dwight Freeney and then delivers a go-go bomb 80 yards to the house, the longest playoff play in Jets franchise history. I mean, come on, baby. So there's been some sizzle. There's been some juice when the Jets have done that in the past. So there's a history of the Jets doing it. There is also a successful history of the results of those guys coming in. So again, a third and a fifth. Santonio Holmes, a fifth. Brandon Marshall, a fifth. Braylon Edwards, a third and a fifth. He was a little bit of a younger guy. But here's the thing. Is there a mystery receiver that we're not thinking of the Jets could acquire? So I put together a list, okay? And I already see one of the names that are out there. Johnny says Cortland Sutton. He is 100% on my list. This is a guy that I think makes a lot of sense. He's 28 years of age. He has 2 years left on his deal. He's a bigger body, 6'4", 216 pounds, and his base salary over the next 2 years, again, he has 2 years left on his deal, is 13 and 13.5 million. That's a bargain, baby. When you consider the wide receiver kind of arc, okay, Tyreek Hill is the highest paid wide receiver in football, around $30 million. And then you go down, obviously, it goes all the way the other way. If you could get Cortland Sutton at that 13 million, 13.5 million adjustment rate, that's a better price than you're probably going to get on the free agent market. You're probably going to have to overpay higher than that. So Cortland Sutton is 100% on the list from the Denver Broncos. Let's keep an eye on that one, baby. Cortland Sutton, he is not number one by nature, but number one in terms of that's immediately a guy that came on my list. So Cortland Sutton, great job, Johnny. He is 100% on the list. So keep them coming, everybody. And yeah, Matthias, milk thumbs, baby. Do that. There, Green Bean, shout out. We need to get him on the show, quite frankly. I love Green Bean. I miss that guy. So who is some guys? Oh, Matthias, maybe Tyreek Hill is sick of Miami. And then wouldn't that be a funny plot twist? So Tyreek Hill, I did not have him on this list, but I like it. That is very interesting. So we could go in that direction. Let me throw a couple other ones out there. So there are a lot of reasons that these guys could become available. Like, for instance, I'll start in this realm. Keenan Allen. He's 31 years of age. He will turn 32 ahead of the 2024 season. 6'2", 211 pounds. He's got 1 year left on his deal for $18 million. Now, they just hired Harbaugh. So what? But they have a lot of critical decisions to make. There's a lot of older players on that roster. Khalil Mack and all these guys. So they have to figure out the contract situation from that perspective. So that's one where it's an older player. And he could just get cut. The Jets might not even have to trade for him, but that could be one of those later round draft choices. But I've heard from Chargers people that there is a chance that the team moves on from Keenan Allen. Also, Mike Williams is another guy. I didn't put him on my list, but he's another guy that's kind of floating because of all the contract issues this team has. He's a little too injury prone for me personally and disappears a lot, that being Mike Williams. But Keenan Allen could be exactly the kind of player the Jets have gotten in some of those other situations where you get a 30-something-year-old. He's coming off a great year, obviously, and you get someone like him. He's certainly on the list. There's another one from Johnny. You are really hitting these, pal. Scary Terry. Terry McLaurin is 100% on my list here. 28 years of age. Okay, so he's older than some of these other players I'll bring up, but he's 28 years of age, 6 foot flat, 210 pounds, and he's very interesting. He's got 2 years left on his deal. It's 15 mil average per year base salary on those 2 years, which again, I'm telling you, that's half of what Tyreek Hill makes. So a great value there. Now on Terry, so Keenan Allen, he's an older player. Chargers have to make tough decisions. He could potentially become available there. Terry McLaurin could be a key piece for a developing team because they plan on probably taking a quarterback with the number 2 overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft. But if it's frustration from Terry, and he showed some frustration last season of this Washington team, a new regime coming in, there could be a lot of reasons. All of a sudden, he's like, yeah, you know what? I'm outie. And maybe they want picks because they don't think they can win now. So get something for a player that you could move on from. That could make some sense too. So Terry McLaurin is absolutely on this list. He's a guy, because again, what are the Jets looking for? Another wide receiver one would be great, but if you could get a wide receiver two, a really good wide receiver two, you just want to draw attention away from Garrett Wilson. So defenses have to make a tough decision on a play-to-play basis on what they're going to do for some of these receivers. So Terry McLaurin, 1,000% on this list. That's a good list. I didn't put either of the Seattle guys. Matthias, you threw those in there. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. I did not include either of those. Lockett has a bloated salary. DK Metcalf as well. I don't know what's going to happen with that quarterback situation. We don't even know who the hell the head coach is of Seattle. So that's potential. That wasn't on my list, but that's possible. He's a guy. Here are two guys, and maybe I'm dreaming here, but let me throw these two guys out here, okay? Let me throw these two guys out. These are guys both entering the last years of their deals. Superstar young wide receivers, both 24 years of age. Both will turn 25 ahead of next season. Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. Now, again, I get it. I may be going too crazy here, but this is a different category for these two. Both of these guys are looking for massive contracts. The Vikings have not given it yet to Justin Jefferson, and the Cowboys have not yet given it yet to CeeDee Lamb. Those are two that are spicy, but it would probably cost you an arm and a leg to get these guys. And let's be honest, that 2020 draft, the Jets could have, should have, would have had CeeDee Lamb. They could have had that guy. There's no question about it. And they didn't. Now you have a chance, potentially. I don't know what's happening there. It looked like, so let's go to each situation. Let's go to the Cowboys. Looked like there was something weird happening in that playoff game. A weird disconnect between Lamb Chop and Dak Prescott. What was happening there? Very odd. What was going on there? Not sure. Lamb, 6'2", 200 pounds. Love CeeDee Lamb. He's one of my favorite receivers. But what's going on there? If that can be had, he's like number one on my list. Age, superstar ability, pair him with Garrett Wilson, that'd be spectacular. So CeeDee Lamb would be very high on my list. It looks like there's some weirdness there. Maybe he just gets signed to a big deal this offseason and his conversation's over, but Lamb is a guy. Justin Jefferson, again, same age, 24, will turn 25 this offseason, 1 year left on his deal. He's a little shorter and lighter than Lamb. He's listed at 6'1", 195. What's happening there? What's the quarterback situation? Kirk Cousins, a free agent. He tore his Achilles. You have Jaron Hall, the other BYU quarterback. The Vikings quarterback situation is a disaster. Justin Jefferson could say to himself, why the hell would I stay here? Let's go somewhere else. He would be another tantalizing, sexy name. Could play with Aaron Rodgers. Oh, yeah. So, again, I might be dreaming with those two names at the top of the list, but they're in the exact category of looking for mega deals. So that would have to take, Joe Douglas getting very, very creative to make that happen. So just want to throw that out there into the universe. Here's another one. Okay, so I told you there's all kinds of situations. Sometimes it's a Broncos team. They seem like they were trying to get rid of their receivers in general. So Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, those guys kind of float out there. Keenan Allen, again, older guy, Chargers, key decision. Lamb and Jefferson are due for mega contracts. One guy on this list already has a mega contract. But, man, there's a lot happening there. A.J. Brown. He's 26. He turns 27 this offseason, 6'1", 226 pounds. He brings some Brutus beefcake. There's some physicality to A.J. Brown. He's got 3 years left on his deal. Now, part of me doesn't want anything to do with A.J. Brown. Remember, he was the guy who was whispering in the ear of Elijah Moore that ended up getting him out of here. Like, I don't really know about all the chutzpah. Now, he's definitely someone on this list because we played the clip from Brian Costello on the Jake Asman show earlier. Who's a player that could spout off on social media and kind of go crazy? And he had a lot of beef happening this past season. He's a guy that there could be an emotional quick trade with someone like that. And so that kind of scares me from a volatility standpoint, but you got to hope that maybe with Aaron Rodgers' presence, he's just going to get the ball a lot so he will be quiet and not cause a ruckus and disrupt the locker room or anything of that nature. He's supremely talented. The question we all have to ask ourselves, is the juice worth the squeeze for a guy like A.J. Brown? That's the part that gets me a little not so sure on that one. But he's one that certainly fits the profile of a guy that actually could become available because of some sort of social media outburst. So he's on the list as well. And let me throw another one out there. Brandon Ayuk. He's in that same kind of category as Justin Jefferson, C.D. Lamb from this standpoint. He's got 1 year left on his deal. He's 6 foot flat, 200 pounds, 25 will turn 26 this offseason. But the 49ers just paid Deebo Samuel. They're going to have to make it. Brock Purdy will eventually have to be paid. They're going to have to make some key decisions, which, if someone's got to shake free, could be Brandon Ayuk. That may be another guy. 49ers connections. The front offices obviously are very close. That could make sense. So I know everyone in the comments, maybe, and I'll go through some of your options after I finish off this list. He's the last name on the list, and I'll recap some of those names. I know a lot of people say, Paul, there's no way that insert team will let that player go. Well, something's got to give here, people. The 49ers have key decisions to make. I'm not saying he's 100% gone. I'm saying there's a chance. There's absolutely an opportunity he could go, or front office situations, or big money. All kinds of things happen there, folks. So mystery wide receivers, keep going in the live chat in the comments and let us know who you believe the Jets could surprisingly go after. I'm going to go through some of your comments here, see if I missed anybody. I just tried to do, like I said, a lot of research, a lot of name digging to see what's happening here. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Bring back Huff. Yeah, we did an episode on that, but we'll see. Need to recoup our second round pick. We talked about that in the show yesterday. KO baby says Braylon was a beast. I loved Braylon Edwards, man. The dragging multiple Patriot defenders in the end zone on that 2010 season, 2011 playoff game was phenomenal. Loved that. A lot of Cortland Sutton in here. Yes, again, he is on the list. Let's see. T. Higgins. Again, that's like an obvious name. Like I said, he's set to be an unrestricted free agent. I'm trying to think of a mystery name that we haven't discussed, but obviously, yeah, I'd be all over T. Higgins. I actually debated that with Woody on our Tuesday afternoon show. Yes. Waddle. That could be interesting. I'm not sure if we're going to get any AFC East trading. So even if Waddle had that kind of outburst, I believe he'd probably go somewhere else. Same thing, Braden and ZL, who comments in on YouTube, and Daniel was commenting on YouTube as well. Diggs. Also, Diggs, his last 100-yard game last season was week 6 against the Giants. So he has a lot of drama baggage, and I'm not sure it's worth it, to be honest. If Josh Allen can't get the most out of Stephon Diggs, I don't know if suddenly he would come here and do it. So first off, I don't think AFC East insider trading is happening. And even if it did, I'm not sure he's the guy I'd want, to be honest. So again, maybe I'm being too 1% here, but Phil asks, Paul, how would you rate Adams, Higgins, Evans, Pittman? Who's best? What's your order? Okay. And then, I guess rate in terms of wanting. So here's where I struggle. So Higgins is the youngest. So in theory, that's the most attractive. And in theory, he's a true free agent, so all you have to pay is money. Devontae is clearly the most proven of all of these guys. Okay, if I had to rank them, here's how I'd rank them. Devontae Adams, number 1. T. Higgins, number 2. Mike Evans, number 3. Michael Pittman Jr., number 4. That's how I'd rank them. Devontae Adams is the most proven guy. And again, even there was that clip on Twitter. Maybe we'll have that as another Boy Green Daily episode in the future in case you guys missed it. But he joined a podcast, and they asked him, outside of your current situation, if you could catch a quarterback from anyone, regardless of circumstance, who would it be? And he immediately goes, Aaron Rodgers. And then he said, no, you can't say Aaron Rodgers. And then he says Kirk Cousins. And he's like, so you sure I can't say Aaron Rodgers? Okay. So he really wants to play with Aaron Rodgers, it appears. So he's very high on my list. The chemistry is already there. The 17 is there. It all kind of lines up. So I'd really want Devontae. It's funny, the way you wrote it is my list. Higgins is incredibly young, 24. I don't think he's perfect by any means. I hate the inconsistency with dropping a slant route and then making some crazy one-handed catch in the back of the end zone. That's frustrating, but so young he could develop with Garrett Wilson. Evans, another proven guy. Some people are scared off by the drops and, father time and all these other things, but Pittman's the most underrated of them all. He doesn't have the same name, chutzpah, and things of that nature, but he's someone I wanted in that draft. He ended up going in the second round to the Colts. I think that was the same draft as Higgins. I think both of those guys were second round picks. So Pittman would be another one. And the ultimate question for 3 of these names is, does any of these guys get tagged? And again, this game of tag. So that would be it as well. Matthias, that's another good George Pickens is who he brings up with the Steelers. That would be another guy that would fit into the category of what Costello was saying where a guy spouts off on social media, then all of a sudden becomes available. Chase Claypool talked his way out of town there in Pittsburgh. They ended up getting a second-round pick for him. If the value is right, I'd be kind of intrigued, but I think he's, again, a little too much of a drama queen, to be honest. He's incredibly talented, but he's one I don't think I would dip my toe in the water, to be honest. He's super talented, and he makes some crazy plays, but that may be too crazy, to be honest, based on some of the activity I've seen. Let's see here. Pickens. Yep. More Pickens. Cooper Kupp. Matthias. Cooper Kupp. That could be interesting. I don't know if they do because it's the same thing as the Stafford thing. I think the Rams just proved by making the playoffs. I think they're all in on their current group. And he doesn't seem like the diva type that would spout off on social media. But obviously it became available. Sign me up for some Cooper Kupp action, baby. But that one I don't see. But I like it. I like the names here. This is good. Let's see. Jamar Chase. Again, they got Joe Burrow, and then T. Higgins could leave. So that would be awesome. But I don't know on the realistic part on that. But I like, again, keep the choices coming here. Let me see. Kupp, Higgins, Ridley. Again, those are some of the free agent names. We're trying to find a mystery name. That's another one. Alon says here, could see one of the Chargers receivers setting loose, whether that's Keenan Allen or Mike Williams. Totally agree. And Malik Neighbors, they could go receiver in the top 5 of the draft. They have the 5th overall pick. Certainly could happen. So either I'd prefer Keenan Allen to Mike Williams personally. I know he's older, but he's got some chutzpah. So he'd be on there. Ooh, Devonta Smith of the Eagles. I didn't think about that one, Johnny. I did think of that. Obviously, my brain's not working. Obviously, A.J. Brown of the Eagles, but Devontae, that'd be interesting because that whole thing is kind of powder keg-ish. Like it could explode. Kobe says Curtis Samuel. I believe he's a straight-up free agent. Again, we're trying to think of a mystery name that they could trade for. Again, we started the show off with guys like that they have traded for. Braylon Edwards, Antonio Holmes, Brandon Marshall. Like, we know the Devontae trade. That wouldn't be a mystery. They'd be like, obviously. But like a surprise name that could just become available. That could be it. And that's a good one. So DJ Moore. If Chicago resets a quarterback and DJ Moore ain't about it, maybe they trade him possibly. Okay, so that's kind of what we're talking about. Tyler Lockett is another good one. I think he's a super underrated dude. Good comment here on YouTube from King One Chief. Yeah, he's a super underrated guy. The contract would have to be totally reworked. That's disgusting. But yes, I like the player. And Phil, I understand your point. I don't want to give up picks for Adams if we could get another one of these guys without giving up anything because the Jets have enough needs. Totally understand. But again, the juice is worth the squeeze for me, and Devontae is such a unique player. Co brings up Marquise Brown. Again, Hollywood is a free agent to be. That's another good one. Jaden says Hunter Renfrow, who is technically still on the Raiders roster. He's probably going to be traded as well. So that's a good one. That's a good one. He probably doesn't move the needle like some of these other superstars here, but that's another good one, Jaden. I like that as well. So, again, will the Jets dip their toe in waters they've dipped their toe in the past? Again, Braylon Edwards, Santonio Holmes, Brandon Marshall. Those guys were important cogs in their respects for their tenures with the Jets, whether it's the playoff run, Santonio Holmes touchdown catch, back left end zone with the knee down in the upset of the Patriots. Braylon Edwards also scored in that when he dragged multiple Patriot defenders into the end zone. Both of those guys were key. Brandon Marshall, of course, had the best single season a Jets receivers ever had in 2015. So these guys have made impacts. There's just no doubt about it. No question about it. These guys have made tremendous impacts for the New York Jets in the past. Would they dip their toe again for trading for a quote-unquote troubled receiver, a receiver who has some sort of issues or beef with his team, and the Jets can take full advantage? That may be the Mike Tannenbaum, Mike McCagnon, whatever way you want to describe it, where you bring in some juice, you accelerate the process. You're all in with Aaron Rodgers. You got to do whatever you can to bring in that talent. So I am very, very intrigued to see if one of these names could go in. Even if you guys are not watching the show live and you're watching this after the fact, I'd love to see some of those names. Feel free to send them in the comment section on YouTube, and I will interact with you guys, and we could debate some of the names maybe I didn't discuss that we missed that could be possibilities for the New York Jets. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to Boy Green Daily. We'll have another episode tomorrow with Italy Jet. Looking forward to that. We may go into our comp pick. Looks like the Jets are going to get a handful of comp picks. We may discuss that on the show tomorrow, outside of breaking news potentially coming in. We'll probably discuss the new comp picks. The Jets are projected to get several new picks. So we'll talk about that as well. On the way out, make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe. We are this close to 6,000 subs, baby. We're like 20, 25 people away. So thanks for the support, everybody. Tell a Jets friend and spread the word, baby. Let's get to those 6,000 subs. Appreciate the support, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow morning on Boy Green Daily Plus. Excusez-moi. We will be back live later today at 3 o'clock for Boy Green Meets Woody. We'll be talking about the tight end position for the New York Jets, so make sure you guys check that out as well. We'll see you then. Peace.